Welcome to the deep dive. So, you've given us IBM's 2023 ESG report to look at, and that's our focus today.
Right.
Think of this as your quick way in, understanding what a major tech player like IBM is doing on the environmental, social governance fronts.
What they care about, where the impact is.
Exactly. We're going to pull out the most important, most compelling bits for you.
Yeah, it's a dense report. Covers a lot. Ethics, diversity, environment, community stuff. Everything.
Our mission, basically, is to cut through that data and just highlight what really tells IBM's story here.
The key takeaways.
Okay, so where should we start? Maybe the G. Governance? Ethics?
Sounds good.
Something that jumped out immediately was the 100% employee participation in their business conduct guidelines program.
Yeah, that is significant.
100% feels pretty fundamental.
It really does. And achieving that, globally across 26 languages with an online course, it suggests ethics isn't just a policy on a shelf.
Right, it's active.
It shows they're really pushing to make sure every single employee gets the message about standards. That kind of thing helps manage risk, build that ethical culture.
And nowadays, AI ethics is just huge, right? They mention an AI ethics board. What's that about?
So that board's job is basically embedding ethical thinking right into how they build and use AI.
Okay.
They put out white papers, like one on foundation models, which actually forms the basis for their AI risk atlas in Watsonx.
So it's practical.
Very practical. They're trying to get ahead of potential problems, not just react when something blows up. It's proactive.
Interesting that they're also pushing for AI regulation outside IBM, too.
Yes, exactly. Their chief privacy and trust officer testified before the U.S. Senate, and they're in that AI alliance with Meta.
What does that signal?
It signals they know this stuff needs, broader cooperation. You need sensible policies, industry-wide thinking. They're trying to help shape that conversation.
Okay, shifting slightly. Cybersecurity. Their framework uses NIST standards. Why is that important for, someone not deep in security?
Well, NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's basically the gold standard, a globally recognized set of best practices.
So using NIST means?
It means they're committed to a really robust, well-respected approach to security. Plus, they talk about multiple layers, a global incident response team, the CSIRT.
And training for employees.
And mandatory employee training. It shows security isn't just tech, it's people, too. It's holistic.
Got it. Data privacy, another huge one. They mention an integrated governance program, regular updates to their privacy statement. Key takeaway.
I think what's interesting is their collaboration, like with the Future of Privacy Forum on data sharing for research.
How so?
It suggests they're actively thinking about how to balance innovation, using data with protecting privacy. That's a tough balance to strike. Raises questions, really.
And finally, under governance, they talk policy advocacy, risk-based AI rules, and this skills-first hiring idea.
Yeah, and also that they don't make political contributions, no parakeet.
What does that combo tell us?
The skills first thing is pretty big. Prioritizing what people can do over just degrees could really change who gets tech jobs.
Opens things up.
Potentially, yeah. And the no contribution stance suggests they want to influence policy through, let's say, expertise and discussion, not direct cash. Which actually leads us nicely into the ES social.
Okay, let's dive into that.
Right.
Equitable impact, the social side. They have this culture formula, purpose plus values plus behaviors.
Right.
And they report strong employee engagement, lower voluntary attrition. What's the story there?
Well, that formula plus the good results, it suggests their internal efforts are actually working. People are sticking around.
Lower attrition is a good sign.
It's often a strong indicator that employees feel valued, they see a path forward, hints at a decent internal vibe.
They also seem to invest a lot in development. You're learning at IBM, AI-powered, and your career at IBM. Average 85 learning hours per employee? That sounds like a lot.
It really is, especially in tech where things change so fast.
Constant learning needed.
Absolutely. Investing like that shows they're serious about keeping their people skilled up, adaptable. Good for the employee, good for IBM's future.
Health, safety, well-being also get focus. ISO 45001 certification and programs like a mental health ally badge. That badge idea is interesting.
The ISO certification means they have a solid, internationally recognized system for occupational health and safety.
Standard stuff, but important.
Right. But the mental health ally badge, that is quite novel. It's not just about resources. It's about building a culture where colleagues can, spot issues and support each other.
Shifting to D&I diversity and inclusion seems like a really big focus. 4 priorities. employee experience, accountability, advocacy, allyship.
It's a pretty comprehensive framework, yeah.
What's notable about that structure?
It's that they're looking beyond just the numbers. It suggests a more holistic view, creating the right environment, holding leaders accountable, pushing for change outside, and getting employees to support each other.
And they have loads of employee communities, business resource groups, over 200 globally.
That's a lot. These groups are vital, right? Spaces for people with shared backgrounds or interests to connect, get support, and also feed into the company's D&I work.
Grassroots level.
Exactly. The sheer number shows strong employee involvement and that IBM values these internal networks.
And they're even thinking about the physical office space, inclusive workplace design, all-gender restrooms, reflection rooms.
Yeah, that shows they get that inclusion isn't just policy. It's about the actual environment feeling welcoming and respectful for everyone.
Their external advocacy through coalitions like 110, New York Jobs CEO Council, pushing skills-first hiring that seems to ripple outwards.
Definitely. They're trying to create wider opportunities, not just within IBM's walls. Partnering up, pushing skills-first hiring, it aims to help diverse talent pools across the whole economy.
And the apprenticeship and tech reentry programs are concrete examples.
Exactly, putting that philosophy into practice, giving people different routes in.
What about the allyship initiatives? The I'm In campaign, Be Equal podcast.
Those sound like efforts to make allyship active, not passive.
How so?
They're about education, raising awareness, encouraging people to actively stand with colleagues from underrepresented groups, building that sense of belonging.
They share some promotion stats for 2023. Progress for women globally, Black and Hispanic employees in the U.S. Why share those numbers?
Well, transparency is key for accountability, right? It lets people see progress or lack thereof.
Keeps them honest.
In a way, yes. And while 1 year is just a snapshot, tracking this stuff over time shows if the initiatives are actually working long term.
They also give self-ID stats for LGBTQ plus veterans, people with diverse abilities.
Yeah.
But it's voluntary.
That voluntary part is important privacy. But even so, the data gives insights into workforce diversity, helps target support where it's needed.
Okay, moving to community development. IBM talks about a 100-plus year history here, and lots of employees feel the company makes a positive impact.
That alignment is interesting. When employees believe in the company's community work, it's usually good for morale, purpose. Suggests the efforts are genuine and visible internally.
Their education and skills goals are massive, skilling 30 million by 2030, 2 million in AI by end of 2026.
Ambitious is the word.
With a focus on underrepresented groups, partnering with HBCUs.
That's a huge investment in tackling the skills gap. The focus on underserved communities and historically Black colleges and universities is really key, trying to build more equitable paths into tech.
And things like the P-Tech model.
Yeah, innovative stuff,
Yeah.
bridging high school, college, and career pathways, different ways to build that pipeline.
Their sustainability accelerator now doing water and city resilience projects too. It's growing.
Seems like it. Expanding the scope shows they want to use their tech and expertise on more kinds of environmental and social problems. And getting awards, like from the Chamber of Commerce Foundation, gives it some validation.
Plus, more investment means they're serious. And the giving and volunteering numbers are big. Over 500,000 volunteer hours in 2023. Significant contributions.
Yeah, $386.9 million total global contributions. It points to a strong culture of, corporate citizenship, lots of volunteer hours, plus programs like IBM Service Corps where employees use their skills pro bono.
Okay, last bit on the social side. Supply chain responsibility. Requiring suppliers to follow the RBA code, focusing on modern slavery, responsible minerals.
This is crucial. Recognizing their impact goes beyond their own walls.
Setting standards for suppliers.
Right. Pushing suppliers on social and environmental management, tackling awful stuff like forced labor, conflict minerals. It promotes better practices across the whole value chain.
And the research into nickel and cobalt-free batteries fits here too.
Absolutely. Innovation helping solve sourcing problems, more sustainable tech.
Plus a global supplier diversity program. $1.2 billion spent with diverse suppliers in 2023. Specific goal for Black-owned businesses.
Yeah, that's about economic inclusion. Supporting diverse businesses isn't just good socially. It can bring new ideas and resilience into their supply chain, too.
Okay, deep breath. Let's hit the E, environmental impact. IBM's been at this a while, right? Energy Star since '92, supporting the Paris Agreement.
Yeah, it's not new for them. Suggests a long-term commitment, not just jumping on a trend.
So, key goals. Renewable electricity, 75% by 2025, 90% by 2030. and GHG emissions net zero operationally by 2030. How are they doing?
Pretty well, actually. They hit their 2025 GHG reduction goal way early, achieved a 68.5% reduction by end of 2023 against their 2010 baseline.
That's significant progress.
It is. And renewable electricity use is climbing too, up to 70.6% in 2023, driven by more use in places like India and their U.S. data centers.
So data centers are a big focus.
Makes sense, they use a lot of power. Getting 74% of data center electricity from renewables is a good step.
They're also looking at energy conservation inside IBM and product efficiency, even giving clients a cloud carbon calculator.
Yeah, it's multi-pronged. Cut internal use, they reduced it 6.6% in 2023 with hundreds of projects. Make products more efficient servers, storage, getting Energy Star ratings.
Like the flash system comparison they mentioned.
Right, and then help customers track their impact from using IBM Cloud. It covers different angles.
Okay, conservation and biodiversity. Success with pollinator gardens 70 globally beat their goal.
That's a nice, tangible, local impact, good for ecosystems.
But they missed their goal on reducing water withdrawals in stressed regions.
Yeah, they mentioned that was due to return to office activity increasing usage, despite conservation efforts. It shows the complexity, right? Operational changes can impact environmental targets.
But they're still working on it. Eco teams involved.
Seems so. Shows it's still on the radar. Employee groups are engaged.
They also flag third-party green building certifications, ALE and WELL, and strong progress on waste.
Definitely. 94.2% of non-hazardous waste diverted from landfill incineration in 2023, meeting their goal.
And cutting single-use plastics.
Yeah, eliminated in 58 out of 60 cafeterias. That's a concrete step people see every day. Plus, work on packaging, eliminating non-essential plastics there too.
And product end of life. Reuse and recycling seems like a long-standing thing for them.
Very long-standing. They achieved 96.8% reuse, recycling, or waste-to-energy for products returned in 2023. That circular economy approach is vital for e-waste.
The total process since '95 is huge, 1.14 million metric tons.
It really underscores the scale of that program over decades.
And finally, environment links back to the supply chain again, and their own solutions.
Right, pushing suppliers on environmental goals, especially GHG targets for key suppliers, and then promoting their own tech and services to help clients with sustainability.
Like energy transitions, sustainable supply chains. They list quite a few areas and client examples.
Yeah, aiming to show how their core business can actually help solve environmental problems. They want to document 100 projects like that by 2025, and they were at 72 by end of 2023.
And just quickly, they list a bunch of awards too. Ethisphere, Time 100.
Yeah, external recognition often helps validate these kinds of efforts, adds credibility.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive on IBM's 2023 ESG report, it's clearly a very broad effort. Lots of different initiatives across E, S, and G.
Absolutely. It paints a picture of a company actively trying to manage its impact, setting goals, running programs, tracking it all. It's a pretty comprehensive snapshot.
And the idea was that you, listening, now have a much better handle on IBM's ESG priorities and how they're doing without needing to read the whole thing cover to cover.
Exactly. It really highlights just how much falls under the ESG umbrella and the kind of resources a big company like IBM puts into it.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Given the power and reach of companies like IBM, how important do you think these corporate ESG commitments really are in driving wider change towards, say, a more sustainable or equitable world?
And maybe think about what parts of an ESG report you find most revealing. Is it the hard data, the specific initiatives, the long-term goals?
Perhaps this makes you curious to check out how other big companies report on this stuff, see how they compare. Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.